In this video, I'm going to be comparing Kodak Portra 400 and Fuji Pro 400H and answering the question, which is the best film for portraits? Hey everybody, welcome to Dan Bullman Photography. On this channel, I do portrait photography tutorials and gear reviews. Now, when it comes to choosing a film for portrait photography, it really comes down to personal taste. But there are some characteristics of different film stocks that make them a little bit better for portraits than others. So when it comes to shooting portraits, you really can't go wrong using Kodak Portra 400 or Fuji Pro 400H if you're choosing a color negative film. So today I'm going to share some photos that I've shot during portrait shoots with both Kodak Portra 400 and Fuji 400H and just give you a side-by-side comparison. All of these photos were developed by the darkroom and scanned by them to try to give a kind of side-by-side comparison and same quality control for all of the photos. So without further ado, let's dive into some of these images and do a side-by-side comparison. Okay, so I'm going to show you some photos that I've shot with Kodak Portra 400 and Fuji 400H. And what I want to do here is basically compare how the tones look in each film. Now, all of these photos I'm about to show you were shot with a Nikon F4 and an 85mm f1.4 lens. So let's start off by talking about the red tones. So for this first photo I took of my friend Alina, this was shot on Kodak Portra 400. Now, you'll probably notice that they kind of have a very deep red tone. I find that Kodak Portra 400 is really good for red tones. So I took a similar photo with Fuji 400H, and as you can see, the red tones look a little bit muddier in the bricks. They have more of a greenish tint to them. And Fujifilm tends to bias a little bit more towards kind of greenish hues and tints. So I generally like Kodak Portra 400 a bit better when it comes to properly exposing and rendering red tones in an image. Next, let's talk about how these films render green tones. So in this first photo here, I took this picture of my friend Lily, and you can really get a sense of the green tones in the background. Now, they have a very deep and rich tone, and you can also notice her red lipstick and the red and green on her bag handle over her shoulder. And I really just love how the colors turned out in this image. Now, I have a similar photo that I took of my friend Daniel. He was shooting with his Pentax 6.7, and you can tell how the greens are a little bit different in that they're kind of a cooler toned green. They have more of a bluish hint to them, I guess. And generally with Fuji 400H, you're going to get some cooler tones when it comes to sort of greenish and bluish hints. So in this particular instance, I mean, obviously I just like the composition and the photo better for Portra 400, so I'm a little bit biased towards that. But you can get a sense of how Fuji and Portra 400 render green tones. Now let's talk about how these films perform when there's less light. I'm going to show you how they sort of render lower light or with bokeh. This is a photo I took of my friend Icy. This was shot on Fuji 400H, and you can see it's a much more like cool toned image, and particularly like the skin tones on my friend Icy's face, and that's my other friend Jess in the background, kind of out of focus. But generally you're going to get cooler tones overall with Fuji 400H. I have a similar photo that I took of my friend Dion. Obviously the color tones in the scene are a little bit different than the photo with Icy, but you can get a sense of there's a sort of warmer tone to Portra overall. So that's one of the things that you'll get with Portra. Portra is a bit more warm toned overall than Fuji 400H, and really it comes down to personal preference. So, you know, take a look at these photos. I'll show some more examples here, and you can get a sense of what each of these films can do. So which film do I prefer? Well, when it comes to choosing to shoot with either Kodak Portra 400 or Fuji 400H, I generally will reach for Kodak Portra 400. It's just a solid film to use for portraits. It's very forgiving. You can shoot it in a lot of different lighting situations and always get pleasing results with it. Now, Kodak Portra 400 used to be my favorite film stock, but I kind of got bored with it because the color tones are a little bit neutral and muted compared to other films like Fuji Pro V100 or Fuji Pro 160 NS. So if you're looking to try out some other film stocks, I definitely recommend either Provia or Fuji Pro 160 NS. I believe the second film is only available in 120, and even then it's kind of hard to find. I usually get Fuji Pro 160 NS on eBay, and I'll put some links in the description where you can get all of the films I talked about in today's video. So which film do you prefer for portraits? Kodak Portra 400 or Fuji Pro 400H? Let me know down in the comments. Also, if there's another film stock that you prefer for portrait photography, let me know in the comments as well. If you like these videos, please be sure to subscribe to Dan Bullman Photography for more content like it. We'll see you soon, folks. This has been another episode of Dan Bullman Photography. Peace.